everybody. So my dad gave me this old knife that he had. It's kind of like a Rambo knife. At the very top, there used to be a compass inside, and then you unscrew the top, and there's all kinds of survival goodies hiding in there. He asked me to, do something nifty and creative on the top part to hold all the goodies in. So I got a wood blank, just a chunk of wood I had laying around, and I'm going to cut it down. I had to repair a big crack in it first, and it was the only piece I had that was small enough to waste, I guess. So I put some medium CA glue in there, and just to keep it together. There's a hole at the very end that I have to turn away, and then I measured the size of that cap for the knife to cut like a jam chuck for it out of the scrap wood. One, so that way I can sand it and repaint it, and also so that way once I form my piece that's going to go inside, I can turn it around and obviously finish the end. So this is my first knife project, and I really enjoyed it. It was fun coming up with all of the ideas on how to do it, from the jam chuck all the way to painting it, because I'm horrible at spray painting. I'm just not patient enough. I'm slowly but surely working on that. And I did spray paint this a little too soon. I probably should have not sprayed it before I put the resin insert in there, but you live and learn. So I didn't video the casting of the piece because I wasn't quite sure I wanted to use that piece. I cast the wood gold. It's the wood that looks like gold in one of my other videos with the blue Total Boat resin. And so I apologize I didn't record it because I wasn't sure if I was going to use that for the top. I had several different ideas, and so I didn't record it. So the original piece those are threads that I'm filing off. That's where the little ball compass would sit in, and there was like a little bezel or ring that you screwed down to hold it in. And being that that's not going to be used anymore, I just used my file while it was turning to sand that all the way and to return it. A piece of metal chipped out when I was turning it. This top piece has like a textured, kind of grippy texture in the middle, and some of it chipped out, but that Starbond black filler worked perfect, and it held really good. I was very surprised, but it held perfectly on that metal. So I appreciate them sending me that because it definitely worked for this project. So I'm just cleaning it off with alcohol, getting all of the shavings and everything off. Here's the piece that I cast. I just cast in like a 5-ounce cup, I think it is, with camo colors. So a green, a bronze, and some black. I cast all together with a scrap piece of that wood. So now I'm just cutting it down to fit, and I made a mistake and cut it too small at first. So you see me whittling away much more material than I would like to, but I did have enough, thank goodness. I was thinking at the beginning of this that I just cast way too much resin for this project, but I also wanted to give myself room for any errors or mistakes, since this was one of those type of pieces that had to be a particular size and fit a particular way. I wanted to give myself extra material in case I messed it up, and I sure did the first time. So I'm glad I cast more than what I needed. So the part I'm turning now is going to be fitting inside of the top piece. So it's not going to be seen, but it needs to be a particular height and width, because it's slightly tapered in there, and obviously it's not a perfectly round piece of metal either. So I wanted it to be snug, so whenever I use the epoxy to epoxy it in, it would fit in there nicely. And on the other end is the threads inside of the piece. You can't go past those threads, otherwise you keep it from tightening all the way down. So it was a constant back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. And I'm sure, I mean, same with my boxes, lids for my boxes, you constantly do that, and I find myself getting a little impatient, and then I cut too much away. So it's just a constant reminder of, while you're doing this, if you're impatient like me, just a little at a time, a little at a time, you will get there. It might take a little bit, but it will turn out much better if you slow down and just, do it. And, even though you have measuring tools and all this other kinds of stuff, if you're putting two different pieces together, and they're gonna be different. So I just constantly reminding myself to do that. So now I'm just cutting it down, and I'm going to measure the outside width of the piece, because I kind of want to cut it to where it mushrooms over, so the outside of the metal is blending in with the piece instead of it just sticking up out of there. So I measure the outside to make sure I didn't cut too much away, so I'll have enough to sit over that lip. I had a chip happen in the resin right where I needed that piece to be, but I was like, I'm not going to take any more chances. I have way too much, not enough left to do much with. So I figured worst comes worst, I'd just fill it. But ended up fitting in there very nicely, very snug. So I was very happy with how that ended up, especially how long it took. So I'm just remounting my jam chuck, and I'm going to use Harbor Freight 5-minute epoxy to glue those two pieces together. I let it sit for a little bit, and then mount it back up on the lathe and turn it to the right size. This wood was very punky, and punky wood does not like scrapers. It just tears out the grain. But unfortunately, because there's resin in there, I didn't want to risk using my bowl gouge and having the resin chip out either. So I just, lesser of two evils, and just said, all right, I'll just use the negative rake scraper and try to keep the resin from chipping, and just sand out the punkiness and the tear out. It was really bad. So I used Starbond's thin, because that helped to stiffen those fibers. So when I sanded it all down, at least it wouldn't be pulling more out. The wood was a beautiful gold color, and I really didn't want to lose using that wood. I wish there was a little bit more resin in this end, but being it's a random chunk of wood and you're just pouring resin over top of it, there was really no way to see or turn it in a way that could reveal more resin in it. So I was just happy that it turned out. So I wasn't going to get too particular. The wood was a gorgeous wood, and there was just enough of the resin in there to give it, I guess, a camo look. So as you can see, it was a really waste of time to spray that cap prior to doing this, because I'm just sanding it all back off again. But that's okay. It's a learning lesson. Sometimes you don't think through all of the steps completely, and I find myself having to back up a little bit, and that's okay. It was an enjoyable process. All of it was. It was a learning experience. So I'm taping off the metal part because I didn't want to get finish, because at this point I really didn't know exactly what finish I wanted to use, and I was like, oh, duh, CA glue. So first I put, I think 2 coats of the thin with a plastic bag on my hand. I want to thank Michael Zertzer for, I think I'm saying his name right, apologize if I got your name wrong, for showing me that in one of your videos. You use a plastic bag to apply the CA glue because it doesn't stick to the bag, or it doesn't drag, so it kind of just smooths it on there. I think my second or third coat, I ended up putting a little too much on the bag, and as I raked and went back, it kind of made a little bit of a lump in the very, very center. It is the first time I did try using the plastic bag to apply the glue, and I was very happy with how easy that worked out, and I have to waste glue and paper towels because I was able to just smear all of the glue that I put on the plastic bag on the piece. So I have a bunch of little smaller bags that are more of like a size that you can fit your finger in. I'm going to bring a bunch of those in the shop so I can continue to use that technique. So thank you, Michael, for sharing that with us, and it worked very well. So now I'm just smoothing out the CA glue finish, which is awesome because it dries quickly, especially if you have the accelerator. With the Axe abrasive paste, there was a couple little spots that kind of lumped up, and the Axe really worked well to level that all out and give it a nice shine. And then I used the OB Shine Juice, the restoring polish. Sorry, I used the restoring polish, and then I did a coat of OB Shine Juice over the top, and it stayed very shiny. It turned out very nice. I'm super happy about the finish with that CA glue. I only recorded 1 coat, but I actually sprayed 2 coats of the matte black enamel, and then 2 coats of the matte clear on it. So now I have to prep the handle and sand all of it down so that a way I can get a good surface for some new paint. I thought of doing several different things, but being this was my first knife project, I really didn't want to go and mess my dad's knife up. I mean, could you imagine? So I just used the my Dremel tool, Rotary Tool. It's the Wen Rotary Tool. I have the item in the description below, and I think they're still on sale right now. With the 80 grit, I think they're called a flap sander. And then I switched to my brass one because I wasn't sure what metal I'm working with because I don't know my metals. I didn't want to put something on that was too harsh that would leave lines, so I used my brass, and that ended up just coming apart. Like all the little brass things came flying out of it. But and then I switched over to the steel one, the little steel kind of, I don't know what they're called. But anyways, I used it to get into the crevices and the grips, and it worked pretty good. You don't realize how nifty or handy these tools can be until you have little projects like this, and it does make things a lot quicker and a lot easier. Make sure you always wear goggles using this tool. It doesn't matter how you hold it. That that tool will sling everything coming off of what you're working on in your face. I made a mistake one time, this was years ago, using a friend of mine's, and didn't wear any protection on my face, and just, it was horrible. Stuff flying in your eyes like crazy, and you're like, what the world? But yeah, make sure you're definitely wearing goggles, and especially all of the paint and everything coming off here, use a mask to protect yourself from breathing any of that junk in. You know, God knows what's in there. So I got my dad's knife finished. I just put a matte black enamel and then a matte clear coat over it. It's kind of hard to see because the light. But there it is. That's where the compass used to be. So I'm pretty pleased with it for my first knife project. I just have to take the tape off, and there was some rust spots on the back end of the blade, so I'm just going to polish those up with my Dremel and polish and stuff. Clean it up really good before I give it back. All of these goodies were inside of it, you know, the survival stuff. So I'll stuff all that back in there. Anyways, it was a fun project and a nice challenge of something that was different. I would like to learn how to make knife scales. Don't know much about metal, so I mean, not all metals anyway. I'm pretty sure this handle was I don't know, it's heavy, but I think it might be like cast or aluminum or something. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know my metals, but it turned out pretty darn whammy. I'm happy with it. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I know it's not a big project, but it was big to me because it was my first time doing, you know, a knife, and it was simple, but I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. I really appreciate your support, and I pray you guys have a wonderful weekend. Take care and God bless.